Guy Channel. The Car Guy Channel. My name is Mike Hennessy. This show is all about cars and all four car guys. Get yourself a cold beer. Get yourself a cold beer, guys, because our show is... We are smoking! I'm Mike Hennessy, and you're watching the Car Guy Channel. I have an auto repair shop. I've been in the business for over 30 years. You name it, we got it, we built it, we've done it, we do it. We love this car stuff, and I hope you guys do too. We're gonna have a lot of fun, got a lot of stuff cooking, so just stay tuned. Welcome to the Car Guy Channel. We got a fantastic show. I say it every week, all the time. We got stuff going on throughout the show. The cars we're building, got to show you the pink Panther, and we're going to show you the eFalcon, which is a cool electric project. There's something really cool coming up here in April. It's actually called Dream Machines. You know, I've been there. It's a great event. Very cool. Something new this year. John D'Agostino and myself are giving out 3 awards. We're getting the Crystal Award. It's the best of Dream Machines. We're giving out 3. One for custom, one for classic, one for just downright frickin' cool. We're giving these awards away. We're going to be doing it on stage this year. Should be a lot of fun. Should be fantastic. So the cars we got going on today, you got to sit down, get yourself a cold one, because you're going to be entertained and educated. Come on, let me hear you love me. You know what I want to say. Don't be cruel. There's only a few cars on the market that get away with being pink. Happens to be Mopar being Panther pink. The other color, of course, would be on a Mary Kay car, and they used all sorts of cars, Oldsmobile, Cadillac, and so on. But this right here happens to be a 1970 Plymouth Cuda, not a Barracuda or a Barracuda Custom. It is an actual Cuda, the real deal. We're going to go over some of the numbers on this stuff today. The reason why we pulled this out of the warehouse, me and my partner have had this car for a while. We're going to use it for Hot Hennessy nights as a poster display with some doctors and people from Valley Medical, with Chris Wilder, Dave Cortese, and so on, for the Breast Cancer Research Fund is what we're going to use this car for, as a promo for that. So I thought we would pull it out. Let's show it to you, and let's get underneath the hood, because that's what you guys always want to see. Now, this car here does not have a lot of options. We did not do the restoration on the car. We did a lot of things on it that would make it work and make it right for us. We do a lot of repairs, fix-its here and there, and being a car that has been restored or sitting for a while, it does need a lot of attention of all sorts of certain areas. Carburetor rebuild. We had to go ahead and do the master cylinder and so on, but this does not have power brakes, but it does have power steering. Believe it or not, they had 9 different engine combinations. 9! That's quite a bit for any manufacturer to do on one particular breed of car. But they had really quite a bit of models when they did have the actual Barracuda, and then they had the model Barracuda that was actually the sport model, then they had the Cuda itself. These are right here way more sought after, and there's a set of numbers on it that we'll go through in the show, show you really what the difference between a Cuda is versus a Barracuda car. But this is a 383 with 335 horsepower. Believe it or not, that is really quite a bit, especially for the streets today. But we all like, no doubt, the 426 Hemi is the granddaddy. It is the boss of them all. 440s are great runners, but they, figure of Hemi with a 426 Hemi in the car, you're pretty much going 425 horsepower. So it's a pretty big difference. But 383 dual snorkel, this car here runs like a champ, and I'm telling you, when you drive one, I can see why Mopar guys are really into it. Chrysler's nickname for this motor was the Super Commando, and it almost sounded like something you heard out of the 60s coming into the 70s. But one thing Chrysler did that not a lot of manufacturers do is they actually painted the fender wells, the whole car. It's a unibody vehicle, and everything is painted always the same color as the car. This car being pink, you got a pretty good idea, and of course they have the plum crazy purple, they have lemon peel yellow, they have all sorts of great colors that they named them on. This happens to be Panther pink, and it's a real Panther pink car, because there's a data plate underneath every hood to every Mopar. Now, Mopars are a lot like a lot of other vehicles that really work on the numbers. The numbers is really half the game on these, and where the values come in if you're going for authenticity or originality and whatnot. This car happens to be a real Panther pink car. This car is really a 383, and it is a real Cuda. And these numbers that are here, Estelle will get a picture of this tag, trim tag that's on here, that will have all the numbers to break down what the car's all about. Everybody watch Barrett Jackson that comes on, cars come on stage, and you get Rick DeBuell and a few of these other guys, Mike Joy. They know the numbers well, and they're very, very smart guys, and they're smart car guys. They know what they're talking about. And they usually go into a lot of the numbers and stuff. Some people care, some people don't care when cars have been customized, hot rodded, and all the things, high ones, fast ones, slow ones, and of course low ones. they go ahead and come up with the numbers. So a car like this here being a real Panther pink car, a real 4-speed car, a real 383 car, there's numbers that will tell you if the car is a real Cuda. And there's books you can go ahead and get. You can go online and whatnot, but there's all sorts of Mopar books you can get. The very first digits in this is going to be B and S and 23. Those numbers indicate out of the book that this is a Cuda, not a Barracuda, but an actual Cuda. Check out the VIN numbers and you'll see what I'm talking about. The Barracuda only lasted about 4 years, and the difference between a lot of the cars, there's little subtle changes in the bodies and whatnot, very, very small, if any at all. But the 1970 had single headlights. In 1971, they had 2 headlights, and then they went back to single headlights in 72. So Chrysler did a lot of things because sales were just kind of going downhill on these because of the state mandates, and of course with the insurance companies were hitting these cars out, they made them very, very difficult to own, maintain, very costly back then. And this car right here, believe it or not, this car here, and I always love this on the show, every time we talk about it, if you went down to the dealership and brought your checkbook, you could drive one out the door under $4,000. Now, if you had the 426 Hemi, the add to that bill was $892 if you wanted to get a 426 Hemi. Unbelievable. Love seeing it, love hearing it, but when you read these, what these things cost, and today, you couldn't get the chrome done for that. Now these hoods were Cuda only hoods. They have these, I don't know, almost like snake venom type air ducts on the front. It says Cuda 383 on the side. I think the hood really stands out and says a lot. Each manufacturer had their own type of hoods for their own cars, all types of stuff. So Mopar had its design. When Plymouth came up with this, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. And when you watch these things sell on TV, believe it or not, it's actually scary to know here's a car that was under $4,000 can sell nearly for $250,000. Incredible, isn't it? Each manufacturer had all their special wheels, which I think really make it the whole taste of the vehicle. And this was Chrysler's design for what they call their rally wheel. It actually has a beauty ring on the outside, and it has a casted cap that looks frosted that goes into the very center. And of course, it has, you know, the holes on the outside of it for the rim. And they actually help keep the front calipers, and if you had drums on it, it helped keep them cool. So they were functional, believe it or not. They actually really did help cool quite a bit. But I just think they really look great on the car. They make the car, and that's really what Cuda was all about. Very cool. There's a couple things for Cuda only, and on the bottom, the rocker panel on the bottom, some people used to call them Cuda gills or whatever you want to call them. They went on the very bottom of the rocker panel. It's the only one of its kind, and it's only for Cuda. Hey, let's take a look inside this Cuda. Now look at these doors. Look, the doors look like they're extremely huge. There's really a lot of airspace behind all these. There's really not a lot in here for the window tracks and whatnot. And that's the way cars are really built back then. They were really kind of fat and wide, and as I call, a lot of air spaces in the middle. That does create to me a little bit of a tinny noise to some Mopar products. And I've seen guys go ahead and line the inside of the doors when the panels are off, all the way on the inside with a Dynamat or some sort of interior liner to take away some of that deadening noise that you do get. And some will have that when you close or open the doors. Doesn't change the value of it. I think it's really a pretty good idea to do. But when restoring these, I'm going to go back and I'm going to really be very honest about it. These are very, very difficult to restore, and that's really why some of the values are so high. Even for a general street car, I figure this here's better than a street car, but general street cars, because of the parts availability, there's not a lot of reproduction, which is kind of a good thing. It keeps the value of the car. A lot of cars out there, you can get almost any part. Dynacorn's recreated bodies for Ford and General Motors cars. Nothing goes on for Cudas. Very, very little. Some panels, but that's really about it. Moldings are difficult, very difficult to get. Inside the car with the black interior, I think is a great touch on this, and the door panels are all one-piece molded piece. They're very hard to come by. They're expensive to fix and repair, but these are in excellent condition. The seats, the bucket seats on these in the center console, and you have to see the pistol grip shifter because that is synonymous with Mopar products. Being a 70, graphics were coming in strong on all makes and models of cars. And obviously Chrysler did take on the same thing. You know, GTX and of course Chargers and all the cars that came out in the business up there. Plymouth had theirs, especially with the Cuda putting these stripes on. These are all decals. The 383 decal in here, one whole stripe on the car. They were very, very subtle with it for what you call a bold stripe. And I'm telling you, I really love the way it looks on this car here. Back of the car is flat black. A few other manufacturers, flat back, black to back. back of the cars also. But the coolest thing, and I always like this, even if I build a custom or a street rod, I always like to incorporate the exhaust to come out of somewhere of the car other than just back behind the tire or underneath the rear bumper. These right here are incorporated out of the body of the car, and I've always liked that look. Corvette's done it, Plymouth's done it, and Ford did it with the Mustangs, with the GTs, and to me it just gives it some class, gives it some taste, and it does show what I call attention to detail. Very difficult to get them in there, to put them in the right position so they don't make any noise and rattle and do anything. That really makes the whole car a lot. The back of the car with the Cuda emblem, these right here are the 1970 lenses, so 70 Cuda is kind of its own thing with some of its own stuff on it. That's what makes it very desirable and very collectible. You know, making only 1,800 and I think 18,800 cars and just 685 convertibles, it does make these cars here very rare and very unusual and very sought after. Your boss just came by, and I said, I never met you before, have I?
No, we haven't met.
We haven't been that fortunate, have we?
No, we haven't.
Now, how long have you been here?
I've been about a year and a half now.
Now, I asked him earlier, how does he hire? When you came in for your job here, what was your qualifications come in?
I just came in, basically had a good reference from my buddy Mark, and talked to Mark here for a little bit about just my overall car knowledge, and he felt comfortable with me.
Hey, what the hell is your car knowledge?
My car knowledge, I do a lot of four-wheel drive stuff, building some small projects right now, but...
So if a guy's got a 4x4 thing, you can help answer questions that one of these other techs can't.
Exactly.
Good. Now, how old are you?
I'm 24.
24 years old. Do you want to make this a career? Is what you're working on?
I'm trying to work into it, yeah.
It's kind of cool, though, isn't it? There's some money to make in it.
There is, there is.
Plus, you got to admit it. This is fun.
It's fun stuff. It is.
Yeah.
I do enjoy getting up and coming to my job in the morning.
And the other thing is he gets a lot of his parts at wholesale.
Exactly.
We're probably,
project's a little easier.
And we're kind of our own enemy sometimes because, we're trying to get our parts going. But you learn what's hot, what's not, what's new, what's exciting, and what's new that works that don't work. From customers and whatnot.
Yeah.
Good, buddy. Good job. We'll be seeing you through, and you got my orders coming through on the car, so get that stuff at my shop ASAP. I basically take precedence over any customer.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Boy, you lied so well, doesn't it? We get a lot of comments on the show. People say, how would the car look like before you restored it? Who owned it or whatever? All sorts of crazy stories. And the neat part about this hobby is there's always history and a story behind it. And that's kind of really, to me, what makes it so interesting, besides building them, buying and selling them, trading them and whatnot. This happens to be a 1963 Corvette. Now, the neat thing about this 63 Corvette, it has the original owner. He bought it brand new in 1963. We don't see that every day. This car here is just, you see it looking rough, you see it looking tired, and it needs to be roadworthy and brought back to life, and he's willing to go ahead and do it. Values of these are so strong. I was talking to him on the phone and said you could put $60,000 in the car and not lose any money. But we don't get into the finances in the show too much, but you all know when you see these on the shows, and Barrett Jackson to Meekum and how much these cars here are pulling. You're really a good investment. So for the day he bought this car brand new for $2,600, this car here, that was pretty expensive in 1963. But this is what they call the C2 series, the second generation. And this body is, to me, well, fantastic. They had them from 63 to 1967. They have a pointed front end, they have a pointed back end, and this was the body style that I feel is, to this day, is my ultimate favorite. The 63 is the only one that actually came with louvers on the hood. 63 came out with the very first style of fuel injection unit that looked like a shoebox. They had fuel injection in 1967, all the way to 1962 with the same type of Rochester fuel injection, but they came out with more of a shoebox style for these cars. This is a base car, red, black interior, white top, hubcaps on the car, no power steering, no power brakes. This was just a Corvette convertible, and we're going to get this thing here running on the road, and it's just kind of neat to have an original owner with a car, especially something of the age of 1963 for an automobile. Great investment, great car. But we got all sorts of stuff we got going on in the shop because I love the comments you guys have given us. And I got to show you how far we are on the eFalcon. Let's check it out.
Well, I love you, darling. Come and go with me. Please don't send me way beyond the sea. I need you, darling. So come go with me. Come into my heart. Tell me, darling, we will never part. I need you, darling. So come go with me. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
bring you up to speed on the eFalcon. Yes, the name for the car is the eFalcon. Scott from Just Leaks, to go ahead and we all talked about naming the car because it's going to be written all over the side of it and be at a lot of events that are coming up. Building an electric car was really out of our element. It was out of the norm that we normally do. But let's just face it, this is 2019 and this is the way our technology is going. And of course, people are coming up with kits and all sorts of things. A company called EV West is the company who actually supplied a lot of the parts for it. And building this car has been a whole new adventure, actually, for everybody, even Scott, the owner on it. And just like, here's something that just kind of crazy. I got to show it to you here. Here's the battery for the car, one of them. And there's actually going to be 14 batteries in the car. We'll show you the racks in a few minutes. But these right here, how long the batteries are, like 36 inches long, and they're about 8 inches tall and about 3.5 inches wide. And the battery weighs just a tad around and under 30 pounds. And if you're going to put 6 batteries in one area, you're going to have 180 pounds just on one rack of batteries. And if we're going to have 14 batteries in the car, we'll show you where we're going to put them. We're going to put them in the front, we're going to put them in the back, and a couple behind the seat on the car. Wiring them in parallel system with a charger and all sorts of monitors and things. This has been a project that's been phenomenal. And Scott came up and said to me, thanks for doing the project. And I'm telling you, we have a couple guys on at the same time. It's been really educational for everybody, and we're learning an awful lot. If you want to get one done, give us a holler. EV West is a company we use. I know there's a lot out there. We're not trying to promote them or anything. That's not really what we do, but this is a company we happen to use. Now, on building this project, we mentioned before, and had pictures of it. You'll be seeing, Estelle's going to put all sorts of pictures of this car up there. This has the actual motor in the car that has 72 horsepower. Now, normally they're really not rated on horsepower, but electric motors can be rated at a horsepower. Has 72 horsepower. And believe it or not, when that means 72 horsepower, that means like that. It's instant. It's totally different than what you and I are always used to with a gas or internal combustion type engine. And when these things hit the pedal, it's all automatic. It's just the way it is. And it's just great to drive an electric car. If you've ever driven one, that's more of a performance model. This model motor is a performance engine from the company. There's handfuls you can get. By having 14 batteries in the car, we should be able to get about 180 miles on the full complete charge, maybe a tad under 200. We're working on making the car light as we can. But to go back to the driveline, our good friends over at Steve over Driveline Service went ahead and built us a drive shaft for the car. This is all custom made for the front because the transmission is a 5-speed transmission. It's a BMW transmission. So we had to custom make this particular unit for the front, for the collet, slip yoke, driveline, and go to the Ford rear end. Everything in this car here, when you think you build a custom car, every single part and every thought ahead of time is all 100% pure custom. You can look at the job that way, and that's how we're approaching it. Being a fab shop, we make and we build all sorts of things. And my wife's got a cousin over in Libya, Montana that's a very, very sharp guy, very electrically minded, knows all about hydraulic motors, all kinds of crazy stuff. He's a very, very smart guy. We even send him some information to stay on board that's actually supporting us. And we get support from a lot of people across the state that we're working with this project. People like you at home, call us up or go ahead and send an email to us and let us know how we're doing on this project, what they like and what they don't like. Most time people always tell you what you don't like, but I like to be positive about things. But this is the battery, here's the driveline. And then, of course, the dash. And I still have to be vintage. I still got to be vintage on vintage cars. This right here happens to be the 63 Falcon dash. Kind of cool. Kind of neat. Speedometer in there. We got some gauges in here. This will tell us how our battery voltage is going on. And this right here is going to tell us how we're doing as we're going down the road. We're still set up with blinkers. We have lights. We have everything on the car, all the amenities that you're going to need. So we're, I don't know, this is kind of a street rod eFalcon, which is really kind of cool. So, hey, let's check out some of the battery containers and show you what's going to go on with those. These are battery trays. Now, we've left this out of the car to show you. This is going to go into the bed of the truck, which we'll go ahead and show you where we're going to place this. This is a battery tray that's going to be holding the 180 pounds of batteries. This tray here will hold 6 batteries in a line, front to back, and go right on in and bolt to the very, very back of the car. We're making this out of very, very strong angle iron. Remember, you're going to hit dents. You're going to hit things in the road. You're going to hit things out there, and we need these here to be very stable and very sturdy inside the car. Might look like a little bit of overkill as you're building it, but when you're inside a car, if they ever got hit or bumped, we want to make sure these batteries don't move around and don't go anywhere. It's not like it's just like a pretty much a regular acid-filled battery inside a car. These are not. These are nickel batteries, and they're very, very expensive. We don't want them to crack or anything like that to protect them. So the right thing to do is, of course, I say it on the show all the time, safety is always rule number one. This is definitely safety, but this is going to go in the bed of this. And let me show you where the bed is, if we can get that shot. Let me show you the back. The tray we just showed you will actually be bolted into the back here. You can see the holes that go into the bed here. These are the holes that hold this rack inside here, and the rack will sit back here, and the batteries will be going just like this. The heart to any job and all these jobs is the electrical. And electrical can always be a nightmare, but if you take your time and you set it up, instead of being a spaghetti factory that's like this here looks. Now this right here is everything that's in my hand, most of everything that actually operates the monitoring system for the motor. The electric gas pedal wires into this right here. These wire throughout the whole vehicle, only under the hood. They have nothing to do with running the brake lights, tail lights, headlights, and all those things. When you do an electric car, you still have to have a 12-volt battery over and above the battery system that we were showing you earlier in the show for the car. Those batteries only operate the engine, and that's what they do. The motor in the car only gets operated by those batteries. So it's a completely separate system. So we came up with two complete wiring harnesses. This wiring harness here is strictly for the electric EV motor. This harness right here is for the headlights and the operation of all the electrical components that the car needs to be a car going down the road. If we're going to put a radio in it or all the other type of amenities into the car, this right here is what it's going to be about. Then we have a separate wiring system for the charging system for the battery. This battery, when the vehicle gets pulled into the service area, it gets plugged in, sits overnight, and it charges up all the batteries. And it will charge the 12-volt battery that operates all the items throughout the car. Let's check out the motor underneath the hood. It's kind of cool. There's a lot of things with building this car here that the elements still are the same. When you have energy, you're going to have heat. And when you get this type of setup with batteries and all that, this right here looks like a little miniaturized heater core, a small radiator, and has two fans on the back of it. What that is, it's a cooler system for what they call the controller. The controller pretty much tells the car what to do. So all this wiring that you saw that runs right into the car, we already loomed it and we already wired it into the control unit. Now the control unit, to go back to what this does, has hoses to it, almost like what a radiator would be. It has antifreeze. This is a cooler to keep the controller cool as you possibly can, because that's going to generate a lot of heat. Not to confuse you guys and gals out there, but that's really what it does. It cools it off. So when you build an electric car, you have no choice. You got to have that in the car, and it's got to find a way to stay cool if you want to keep this thing here dependable. Things they've been learning, the technology of building these and the electric cars has just jumped phenomenally in the industry going out there. There's all sorts of things out there. Companies are building them like crazy. Everybody's on board. They're all trying to keep up with Elon Musk. Elon Musk does kind of have the handle on it, but people are catching up. And things like this here is really cool. But get back to this battery tray. This is the battery tray we made. This is actually set into here, just a few bolts. We'll be finishing it off, and the batteries will be going long ways. And the batteries sit right here in the very front. The grill will be on the outside. You won't even see it. They're going to sit over the motor. They sit over the controller, and I have a little bit of room in here. They're actual factory battery, which we're going to use for 12 volts. We're going to set that right here in the corner. So I don't mean to talk over everybody's head. This thing here is great. All the pictures Estelle's put up there, this is our project, and we should have this thing here running, hopefully, and I mean knock on wood, hopefully this thing here will be operational in the next 2 weeks. Kind of cool. Check it out. Like I've said many times doing this project, everything is custom. This right here is actually a custom-made battery tray that goes behind the back seat. Believe it or not, 2 batteries fit inside this tray. It's going to go behind the back seat, and that gives us our extra 2 batteries. So we got 6 in the front, we got 6 in the rear, that's 12, and these 2 right here are going to give us our 14 batteries that we're going to need to keep this car going about 180 miles, and probably a distance of about 55, 65 miles an hour. With 14 batteries, that's going to give this car here the punch and the power it's going to need. But there's all sorts of things you're seeing from all the pictures in the bottom that Estelle's going to be running through of all the things we're doing to try to build these. Raul's been doing an excellent job of welding this thing here together. Ed's on the wiring. We're all in the middle of the design project of this, and it takes really a lot of thinking and people that really know how to do fab work with automotive history behind them. I don't know if it's a project I'd recommend someone to do at home. Some things can or cannot be done, whatever your skill level is. You do need a welder. You do need some support in a lot of ways, the drive shaft, the right transmission. There's a lot of things you really have to consider building this thing. And there's a lot going on here. And of course, I always say safety is key number one. And if you can keep that with safety in mind, you're going to have one heck of a project. We are coming into the 2019, and this is where we're at today, building this project. The solar company, who's the funder of supporting this project, they do solar energy. They do solar roofs on homes and all sorts of the area. They're the right people for this project. So we're really proud to build it. So I hope you kind of like the eFalcon. Don't run, don't turn off your TV. You're not seeing something crazy. You're seeing a Jaguar. It's a Jaguar XJS, a 1992 Jag XJS. These body lines are absolutely spectacular. They're really not for everybody, but they are for me. But the neat part about this car here, it has an LT1 Corvette drivetrain. It was all brand new out of a crate. Like I said, everything has a story. This definitely has a great story behind of how we purchased the car, how we got the car, and had computer problems, wiring problems. And my good buddy Ed sat down. He did not give up. We went through all the modules, whatever it took to get this thing here running, and we actually had a bad computer. Now, I was pretty frustrated because we sent the computer that came with the car to a person, Mr. Pro from Dover, that really didn't know his rear end from first base, which I'm not knowing this, but we went ahead and sent it to him. He was supposed to clear the anti-theft. He really never did it properly, and it created more problems because we worked with somebody that didn't know what they're doing. And I hate to say that on the show, but I'm saying it on the show. So if they don't like it, that's too darn bad. But the end of the day is it cost us a lot of money and a lot of time. But we finally got the car started. I mean, I'm telling you, it was a relief that you would never explain. Started up and runs beautiful. We got this thing here ready to go back on the road. We got all the brakes done on the car. We just put brand new tires on it yesterday. This motor is completely all new with all the wiring in it, new computer, new mass airflow sensor, new injectors. This thing is ready to fly and ready to go. But being a Jag XJS with a 700R transmission with LT1 motor, this thing here is going to be a really neat running car. We're going to get this thing together real quick. Thought we'd show you a project that we're working on. Happens to be a Mike Hennessy pet project. I had the car for many years, been in our storage. Like we got the car hauler, the tow truck kind of put together, getting the Jag put together. Some of my projects are getting back on the road, kind of a New Year's resolution deal, but I'm really pleased to get things kind of going. Ed wanted to take on the project. Still get a shot of that motor. It does look good in the car.
Before I knew there would be a time when I would buy a brand new 409.
I hope you enjoy the show. Fast moving, a lot of stuff going on. I want to thank Estelle Gal. She just does a fantastic job of putting all this stuff here together. And when she heard that we're going to be going ahead and doing the breast cancer car with the poster we're going to have out coming up here for Hot San Jose Nights coming up here on September 7th. So all the stuff that happens throughout the year, we really do a lot of this for you. People who watch the show involved in it. So I always like to thank Estelle. She's the one that does the directing. She does the editing. And I just think the world of her for doing the good, fine work that she does. And she's getting car educated. One of these days we'll have her in a street rod pretty soon. I haven't figured out which one she likes to drive. But hey, life's great. Life is good. God bless you. And we'll see you guys at the next show.
She always turns in the fastest times. My 4-speed dual quad, cross attraction 4